So AP Statistics, Quiz B, this for Chapter 16. Fast food restaurant just leased a new freezer and food fryer for 3 years. The service contract for the freezer offers unlimited repairs for a fee of $125 a year, plus a $35 service charge for each repair needed. The restaurant's research suggested that during a given year, 80% of these freezers need no repairs, 11% needed to be serviced once, 5% twice, 4% 3 times, and none required more than 3 repairs. So, number 1, find the expected number of repairs this kind of freezer is expected to need each year. So, expected. This is how you find it. So 80% of these feeders needed no repairs, so no repairs is 0. 80. And then we added, so 1 repair times point. Then 2 repairs. Put this in your calculator, you should come up with 30. Repairs. So this is question number 3. What are the mean and standard deviation of the restaurant's annual expense for the service contract? So C is going to be $125, since that's the fee a year for a year, and 35x since 35 is a service charge, and we don't know how many repairs you're going to need. So this is per repair. 35 is per repair. So expected C is going to be 125 and based on number 1, the expected number of repairs. The freezer we're looking at is 0.33. So it's going to be $125 plus 35 times 0.33. And that's the number of repairs. That's X. You should get 136.55. So you should get that. 136.55 standard deviation. So that's the mean. Standard deviation is going to be C. It's going to be 35 times what we got from number 2, 0.749. So 0.749, and you should get, let's say, around 0.22. So number 4, how many times should the restaurant expect to have to get this freezer repaired over the 3-year term of the lease? So since for number 1, the expected number of repairs for the freezer is 0.33, and it says 3 years term for the lease. So what you're going to do is expected. It's an expect. It's 3 over 3 years. Since per year it's 0.33, and so you add 0.33 plus 0.33 plus 0.33, and you should get So, how many times should the restaurant expect to have its freezer repaired over the 3-year term of the lease? 0.99 repairs. So it's close to 1. What is the standard deviation of the number of repairs that may be required during the 3-year term of the lease? On what assumption does your calculation rest? Do you think this assumption is reasonable? So, variance, so it's 3-year term again, 3-year term again. So it's variance x1 plus x2 plus x3. And so the variance we got earlier was 0.561. So times 3, you should get 1.683. So the standard deviation. So the standard deviation should be 1.297. That should be your standard deviation, and this is your variance. So on what assumption does your calculation rest? Do you think this assumption is reasonable? So the assumption is that the number of repairs is independent from year to year. So the assumption the number of repairs is independent from year to year. So we're assuming that the repairs are independent from year to year. And do you think this assumption is reasonable? The assumption might be correct because some freezers need more service than others. So that's it. So question number 6. The yearly service contract for the food fryer estimates a mean annual cost of 140 with a standard deviation of 40. What is the expected value and standard deviation of the total cost for the service contracts for the freezer and the food fryer? So expected value, standard deviation of this total cost of freezer plus fryer. So for the expected value, it's going to be 136.55. We get that from question number 3. Plus, so for the fryer, it's 140. You're right, 140. So the sum is 276.55. The variance is 26.22. That's from number 3. 26.22. You square it. That's the standard deviation, and trying to find the variance, so you square it and add it to 40, which is also standard deviation. So you square it too, and so you should get 1,287.49, but it's asking us to find the standard deviation. So you put a square root And after you square root of that, you should get 47.83. So question number 7, which service contract should the restaurant expect to cost more each year? How much more with what standard deviation? So the food fryer service contract is expected to cost more. So yeah, the expected and the variance, but it happens to find what standard deviation, how much more. So expected fryer minus the freezer and the same variance. So it's 140 since the fryer is more basically question number 6. 140 minus the mean from question number 3. 136, 155. 5. So the answer should be 3.45 more. So $3.45 more. The variance, same as the sum in problem. It's the same as the sum in problem number 6. So what we got from problem number 6 is the standard deviation. Yeah, good, so let's find a standard deviation, and the standard deviation for number 6 was